Right now, it's Tesla's world. Everyone else is paying rent. And I think ultimately a year or two from now, we're not just looking at $1 trillion for Tesla, but in a couple of years, this could be a company that could start to approach that $1.5, $2 trillion market as they execute.
Hey, I'm Steven, and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, I'm reacting to and sharing my thoughts and opinions on comments from WeBull analyst Dan Ives, who's been quite bullish on Tesla for some time, sharing his thoughts on Tesla, the fact that they could reach a $2+ trillion market cap within just a couple of years, his thoughts on China, how critical it is to EV growth in the future, and some thoughts around NIO. So let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. That is an obnoxiously good return on your investment. I mean, really, deposit $100 and you'll end up with, at minimum, $21 worth of stocks, a 21% ROI on your money. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
Nothing has been more exciting than watching the electric vehicle names run wild, almost always higher, a few setbacks along the way, and they keep making new ground. Dan Ives has been a big part of telling us that that was going to happen. He's a managing director of equity research at WeBull, has been bullish on these names. Dan, let's start with NIO today. Let me just get your response to the aftermarket news that they are going to take advantage a little bit of some of the environment right now. It seems $1.3 billion in convertible senior notes. So there's a little stock involvement given the convertible aspect. What's that mean?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that across the space, and ultimately it's about raising capital, and that's what more and more is the focus of these EV players. I mean, it's it's really right now, just a massive arms race, and you're seeing more and more capital needs. You'll see knee-jerk reaction, just like we've seen when Tesla has done similar things, but ultimately it's a positive move as it's all about further and further capital to build out, really the vision over the coming years.
So right now, is this kind of self-reinforcing kind of dynamic where the stock goes up, these companies that, I mean, it was only a year ago that people were worried about, going concerns in a stock like Tesla that said they're going to run out of cash, early on, and some of these other companies like NIO, okay, how do they deal with profitability and how long can they stay there? And now that the shares have gone so far, it's like, who cares about any of that anymore when they can just tap the market?
Yeah, look, I think it's similar to what we've seen with Tesla doing that, called 3 times the last year and a half, because you're in the early days of what's going to be, in my opinion, about $1 trillion market in terms of EVs. But it takes capital. And ultimately, that's really been the bear story in a lot of these, that they couldn't have the capital and ultimately the cash flow and the profitability to get there. But you've seen with the equity markets and the optimism, it's given them that ability to hit the bid and ultimately, gain more and more capital. And that's something that NIO's doing. And you see with Xpeng and others in China, because it's an arms race, especially going after Tesla and others in the Chinese EV market. I think what you saw with NIO Day this past weekend, it just shows some of the battery technology. I think that forest for the trees is what investors are focused on.
Dan, you described the Chinese market as the linchpin of EV growth right now. Who's ahead in China, Tesla or NIO?
Right now, it's Tesla's world. Everyone else is paying rent. In terms of EV, and I think you've seen that really globally, but especially in China. I mean, I think they could be 250,000 units potentially on that run rate 2021.
I'm not sure where Dan Ives is getting his numbers from. Last I heard, the Shanghai Gigafactory is already ramped to a run rate of over 250,000 units per year, and this is before the Model Y has really begun to ramp. I suspect at the end of this year, Shanghai will be looking at around 500,000 vehicles per year of production capacity. So yeah, I think that's pretty bearish from Dan there. It's going to be a hell of a lot higher.
But NIO, Xpeng, and others, I mean, I think they have massive opportunities. And it's a big enough ocean for more than one boat. And that's why it's all about China, because you're looking 4.5% of automobile sales potentially going to 9-10% in the next 2 years. This is a massive market opportunity, and that's why you're seeing all these Chinese EV players continue to move higher, just given what we're seeing in terms of that inflection of demand. And NIO continues to be the golden child in terms of what we're seeing in China.
Does Tesla have political risk then for its need to be in China? If there's another legitimate car maker that people like that's doing well, is there anything stopping the government from, I mean, none of those things stopping, but just generally speaking, I would think that there's a policy risk that would apply only to Tesla here if the U.S.-China relations worsen and they say, you know what, get out of here, Tesla, or something, or, you know, whatever it may be.
This one gets me every time. I hear it now and then. Somebody says, oh, what about US-China tensions? Would that affect Tesla? Now, I hate to burst your bubble, guys, but do you really think the Chinese government would have made Tesla the first foreign automaker allowed to build a factory without a local partner in China and provided them exemptions from import duties and helped them get their factory operating after the COVID shutdown and arranged below market rate finance to actually construct a factory? Do you really think the Chinese government would support a company like Tesla and then decide to turn around and just start fucking them in the ass? Really? No, I seriously mean this, by the way, guys. I think we have to segment things, okay? If there's tensions between US and China, how's that going to impact Tesla? In China, they fully localized their supply chain and production, okay? They're using parts from China, they're using labor from China. It's helping the Chinese economy, providing thousands of jobs, providing a huge boost, and helping the government get people off fossil fuel vehicles. Like, really?
Yeah, and I think it speaks to what Musk has been able to accomplish. I mean, being the only U.S. manufacturer without a partner in China and Giga 3, that's a key of the success. It's the linchpin. And ultimately, I think part of the optimism that you're seeing in EV overall, Biden takes over January 20th. First of all, a green agenda across the board with blue Senate, bullish for EVs, bullish for Tesla, GM, Fisker, and others. But also there's a view of significant ratcheting down of tensions with China. And that's bullish, of course, not just for Apple and semis, but for Tesla going forward. And that's starting to get baked into these stories.
All right, let's talk about baked in here, Dan. I mean, I know that you've been bullish on Tesla for a while. You've been right on with the price targets that many thought were lofty and unreasonable months ago. Now we see all the sell side basically follow you and these select other bulls and getting in line with the story. But at what point can they still surprise? I mean, we've got expectations of huge stimulus coming. Everybody knows that the Biden administration wants it to be very green focused, either in this round or the next one at some point. We've seen the battery tech. We've seen the sales for Tesla. What's the next rabbit they can pull out of the hat?
Well, I think now, I mean, to your point, and that's a great way to put the market, it's about execution. I still think you're looking at a company that could do 750,000, potentially 800,000 units this year.
At this point in time, I think Wall Street is expecting around 750,000 units delivered by Tesla in 2021. I'm closer to 850,000 as a minimum. I think that's what Tesla's going to guide for, but I think internally they'll be aiming for closer to 1 million vehicles. There's a huge amount of variability and uncertainty this year because you've got the Austin factory ramping, which will be producing some vehicles later this year, but how many we don't know. The exact same thing can be said of Berlin also. Plus there's continued expansion at Shanghai, including the Model Y ramp, and Fremont is also being optimized for further output. So really hard to know for certain, but my guess, Tesla guides 850,000 and internally aims for 1 million.
Growth's underestimated, profitability is underestimated, and I think what you're seeing in these valuations, remember, me and you have talked about many times, not an auto company. It's trade. In my opinion, it's a tech or disruptive technology company. That's how it should trade. But we're talking about $1 trillion market, and you can really count on two hands the companies going after this market. They continue to execute the EV vision and flex. And I think ultimately a year or two from now, we're not just looking at $1 trillion for Tesla, but in a couple of years, this could be a company that could start to approach that $1.5, $2 trillion market as they execute.
I wholeheartedly agree with Dan Ives here. In fact, I think that Tesla stock has a pretty good chance of continuing its march forward until Tesla reaches a $1 trillion market cap without a huge amount of interruption, of course. I'm not suggesting the stock's just going to go up. There's always volatility. Anything could happen tomorrow, next week, next month. But the point is, I think that now that the market's really starting to get Tesla, all eyes will be on execution, and as Tesla continues to successfully execute, lots of positive catalysts. I think the stock's going to climb higher and higher on average over time. And of course, $2 trillion market cap, piece of cake, a couple of years max. In fact, let me know in the comments below, guys, when do you think Tesla will reach a $2 trillion market capitalization?
So right now, in terms of price target, walk me through the latest here on Tesla that you see as something reasonable over the next year, and what is it valuation versus bottom line breakdown, right? Because now that we're talking performance, that's a little bit different, where, you know, a Tesla over the past year has been a lot about speculation and expectations, extremely high valuations. Maybe there's a future in which we actually talk about earnings as being a core part of the market cap instead of just a price to, you know, expected earnings.
And I think if you look, I could tell you many investors I talk to, okay, go out 2025, could they do $10, $12 in earnings? Look at tax credit situation. When Biden comes in, in my opinion, you see a doubling down of tax credits and potential restoration of credits to the likes of GM and Tesla. And that's something that really changes the whole game in terms of profitability going forward. So, you know, I view it from $1,000 continues to be the bull case here. But if they execute, you know, the way that we're looking, you know, you could be ultimately, this could be something that beats numbers by 10, 15, 20% in terms of deliveries. Then you look at 1 million units in 2022, and that's where I think the whole valuation starts to change.
Once again, I actually think Dan Ives is being really bearish to Tesla. 1 million units in 2022. Dan, it's definitely going to be over 1.5 million, probably closer to 2 million. How do I know this? Berlin will be ramped. Austin will be ramped, Shanghai will have continued to expand, and Fremont will be more efficient as well. We do the numbers here, it's not that difficult. Let's say 500,000 or so out of Fremont, 500,000 or so out of Shanghai, another 250,000 out of Berlin, another 250,000 out of Austin. Bob's your uncle, already 1.5 million, not accounting for any more efficiencies, any further ramping, blah, 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 blah. Remember, Tesla is continuing to speed up the process with which they can produce and manufacture vehicles. The gigacasting, this huge, enormous piece being cast together, is saving hours, literally hours of time in producing every vehicle, which means that each production line is going to increase its capacity. Tesla wouldn't even need to create new factories or expand the physical footprint of their facilities to actually increase their output throughout the year, because they're integrating these new manufacturing techniques which save time, money, and therefore mean more vehicles coming off production lines in less time.
And I just want an important point. You start to sum of the parts of the company. In other words, what's the battery business worth? What's the energy business worth? What's the solar business? I think more and more that's how more investors are viewing this. Very similar as we've seen some of the parts with Apple and others.
Good point here from Dan. A lot of analysts out there still don't really value Tesla based on all the different elements of the business. Some of them are completely ignoring solar, battery, like literally completely ignoring them. Others aren't taking into account autonomy. Some are, some aren't. So as more analysts start to understand each component of Tesla's business and take a deep dive, well, hang on, what about the software revenue? What about this? What about that? Oh, okay, cool. I think we're going to find that valuations over time, analyst estimates, and therefore price targets on Tesla stock continue to climb as analysts actually gain a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of what they're looking at. As Elon Musk said, Tesla is like a dozen or so different individual startups contained within one company. You've got the supercharging startup, you've got the full self-driving software startup, you've got the self-driving AI chip startup, blah, 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 blah. You guys get the idea, right?
And for NIO versus Tesla, does one have to pick one over the other right now, or are these both winners?
Both winners. Obviously, NIO I view as more totally focused on China market. Of course, they'll be in Europe this year and potentially US next year. But Tesla continues to be the core EV play. But I view it, you play the whole EV supply chain, from batteries to the makers to supply chain to OEMs across the board. That's the play. Tech, EV, I think these stocks continue to go much higher, especially in what I view as just a bullish political backdrop for EV with a blue Senate.
I have no doubt that EV stocks will continue to climb higher in general over time, but I also have very little doubt that some of these same companies will ultimately end up bankrupt, having failed at getting a piece of the EV market. Just keep that in mind.
I got one more for you, Dan, before I let you go. This is about NIO specifically, where, you know, everybody kind of knows the popularity of Tesla among retail investors, but it's expanded now, and a lot of the institutional folks, I think, are coming around. But for NIO, there's a great article out over the weekend and this morning that was getting spread around from Bloomberg, just looking at the role that NIO has in these online trading forums on TikTok. It's like the most mentioned company out there. The number of mentions is mind-blowing. I mean, what does this mean as a catalyst? I mean, it's got to be in some sort of speculative froth. I know that doesn't mean it has to go back down to XYZ level, or that it can't get to the levels you're talking about, but isn't that a catalyst? How do you monitor that?
Yeah, I can't underscore almost the cult-like following of NIO within China. And as someone that's seen it firsthand, I think that's something where now that they're going after the sedan market, really going after Tesla a bit on potential on the S, or you could say the Y I think it just shows the opportunity for NIO. And I think it just shows more and more what you're seeing in China in the EV space. And that's why I don't think you got to pick one. I think NIO continues to obviously be the best player there. You look at Xpeng, Li Auto, and others. You got 100+ makers going after China EV. And I think we're just starting to see what's really a golden age for EV.
Dan's right. This really is the golden age for EVs. China's critically important, and we're going to see the entire world transition from internal combustion engine vehicles to EVs this decade. However, for what it's worth, the company in the pole position to dominate electric vehicles in China is Tesla. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. PS, if you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.